Hi, chat. Hello. Sorry. No, I'm sorry for being late. 2.0 got me something she said I needed to open up and put together. She got me a nice little modeling cart, like for crap to sit on, and I was putting that together. Sorry. So we lost track of time. Had to finish it. Well, it was easy enough. It just a lot of screws, so had to do it. Had to do it. So that's why we did that. Yes, so yes, it's an amazing little gift from her. I think it's very nice. Got to do yes, put all my trains on and all my trains and train supplies. Oh my God, you guys. All right. So welcome to the show. If you guys are, well, I don't know who here's new or doesn't know me, you can deal with whatever. Let me see. Yeah. Let me see here. What is people? Let me see here. I forget. Anyway, whatever. We are here to discuss the depositions done by the House Oversight Committee and regarding Joe Biden and the use of an autopen. And we're going to get to this. And guys, this is not, and I said this before, once the pardons are done, they're gone, they're never coming back. They're not getting rescinded. None of that's happening. Okay. Nothing Biden would have signed with an autopen. Gone. It's never coming back. Okay. I want people to understand that. It's gone. It's done. That said, even if we find out, for example, that people were just writing fucking pardons and auto-penning them out and sending them out and executive orders, whatever it is Biden may have done, those are not coming back either. What can happen is that person who did that without Joe Biden's authority could get in trouble. That's kind of where we are now. That's the stage of things, is finding people and did they have the right to do what they did. That is ultimately where we are. So that's where this starts. And the two people that are going to get, we're going to see depositions from. Now, hold on one second. All right, chat. So we're going to have two people. We have two people who are going to be giving testimony in a deposition. Remember, depositions are under oath. You're giving testimony. You're just doing it outside the presence of a judge, but it is just like a courtroom. There are objections. You have to follow rules and decorum. There's all kinds of stuff you have to do here. And we're going to get into two specific people that the House Oversight Committee did depositions for. They're not super long. And with that, we'll talk about Chugi. I know you said something dropped from Minnesota Public Records. Well, we'll get to those. So the first person we're going to do is Annie Tomasini. She was the senior advisor to Joe Biden. And then we're going to have Anthony Bernal. He was senior advisor to Jill Biden. So we have the senior advisor to POTUS and FLOTUS discussing that. And this is where we go. So these are not unhinged. These are not unhinged depos, Dolly, but they're going to be good depositions. 4M, how you doing? It's good to see you. Yes. Hi, Sean Hairsalon. Yes. Got my hair did. It feels so good. And I'm so upset. I couldn't get in sooner. Although the lady does my hair, she had tore her Achilles and she was out for a while. So I spent most of the summer with a mop top on my head and all shaggy and nasty. So yeah. But before we get into this, I think you guys need to know, and I think we talked about it before. Also, my finger length got cut, so I don't really have the anymore. We are, and as I said, chat, The Reaper comes for us all, but he's just very slowly. Very slowly. He doesn't come after the Martin men very hard. Doesn't come after the Martin men very hard. Hope you tip her well. Oh, I do. She's phenomenal. She's phenomenal. So from here, we're just going to say, how does an Autopen work? And I think that's a big thing. I know we talked about this before with the when we were doing some of the Trump stuff before, but an Autopen is an actual thing. And if you guys have never seen one before, it's pretty cool how they work. So here's how Autopen works, and I just so you guys understand. This is not new technology, but it is kind of cool. So here we go.
Autopen or signing machine is a device used for the automatic signing of a signature or autograph. Many celebrities, politicians, and public figures receive hundreds of letters a day, many of which request a personal reply. This leads to a situation in which either the individual must artificially reproduce their signature or heavily limit the number of recipients who receive a
And see, chat, even books, memorabilia, all of it can be used with an Autopen.
Personal response. Given the exact verisimilitude to the real hand signature, the use of the Autopen
I like how the AI voice can't say verisimilitude.
allows for a small degree of wishful thinking and plausible deniability as to whether a famous autograph is real or reproduced, thus increasing the perception of the personal value of the signature by the lay recipient. However, known or suspected Autopen signatures are also vastly less valuable as philographic collectibles. Legitimate hand-signed documents from individuals known to also use an Autopen usually require verification and provenance to be considered valid. The early Autopens used a plastic matrix of the original signature, which is a channel cut into an engraved plate in the shape of a wheel. Thank you for watching.
So that's just kind of the basic thing. So like an original Autopen followed a thing and how it worked out. But the modern Autopens don't do that. They follow a set thing and how they work here. So how's the Autopen work?
You are looking at
This is a different version of an Autopen, but it's all the same thing.
the Ghostwriter by Automated Signature Technology. The Ghostwriter is manufactured in the USA and can help you manage your time and increase your efficiency by allowing the option of delegating your signature. Use of the machine is...
And this is how it works. You have a chipped card that's programmed to do a certain signature. Some of you in the military might say, wow, that kind of looks like a CAC card. Yeah, it does. And it's the same type of thing. It's the same type of access card. It can also, yes, you guys see there's a USB port. There's an SD port on these things. You can hook it up to a computer. There's all kinds of stuff you can do there. All kinds of stuff you can do, guys. Yeah, it looks like a TWIC card. Yes. Yeah, and coffee cake, yep. Yeah, they use these for everything because so much stuff needs to get signed. And Half Irish is like, yeah, not how I pictured it. I know, you're probably thinking it's like some fancy thingamajig, and it's literally just like this set of like articulating arms, and they shove a pen in it. And yeah. Scott says, why not just upload a signature to Adobe? Because when you print it out, you can tell it's a printed signature, not a written signature. So, Morris Apple says Emmanuel Foxray. Well, hello, Foxu people. Hello. And Catastrophic says, yeah, that's a CAC card. Yes. And a CAC card, if you're non-military people, is a common access card. But yeah, it's the same type of thing, the way it's chipped and all that. Yeah. Yes, technically, I guess it's called a link card. So, but this is what you use, and that information is uploaded. So you could switch the cards in and out for different signatures. So here we go. Here's how it works, guys.
Simple as after printing your letter, you insert your signature card in the Ghostwriter. The signature card is similar to a credit card in that no one can use it unless you give it to someone else. Once inserted, line your letter up with the signature area and then either press a button on the panel or press a pedal that comes with the machine to begin signing. Within seconds, the signature is done, your letter is finished, and by removing the signature card, no one can reproduce your signature but you.
Yes, and that's where it becomes who has access to it. Who has access to it? So, and then real quick, guys, you get to catch these real quick. EDW Raptor says, at least PPP and Worski had to come in DC to cancel their show instead of being late. Thank you. Thank you, EDW. Also gifting 5 subs. Thank you, EDW. Debbie O with 10 subs. Debbie O just going straight for it. Just wanting, not just wanting a quite a woo tonight. But all just crushing those grades, stomping a mud hole in them. And the Buzz is saying, Buzz CJC is saying for $5, presidential pardons cover crimes. So couldn't states go after people like Fauci and these criminals and wreck them? Yeah, but I think for Fauci, you'd have to find an applicable state crime. So would you find like manslaughter or murder? I mean, maybe. Because otherwise, like there's, the state of Ohio couldn't prosecute Fauci for conspiring with the Chinese government to make shit in the Wuhan labs. We wouldn't have the jurisdiction for that. But you could manslaughter and negligent homicide. I mean, yeah, that stuff could happen. But that'd be a little tough. It'd be a little tough. It says, it looks like your debit card. Yes. Mitch says, is this literally what an Autopen is? Yes. This is all an Autopen is, and that's the thing. You think it's something super fucking sci-fi? No. It's literally just a pen that on an arm it goes like done. Yes. You thought it'd be on a computer. Coke Fairy says, or you could just not have this and make people sign themselves. Okay, so for example, like all the January 6th pardons, that could be like 500-600 of them. Or the amount of orders, the amount of things the president has to sign and authenticate, just actual presidential duties. There's going to be a shitload. On top of that, when letters go out, dear Coke Fairy, on behalf of the White House, we thank you for what you've done, or we really appreciate you. Signed Donald Trump. A bunch of those. Letters for service members who are, have died and have been killed in, whatever circumstance. Those are there's going to be like all kinds of stuff that has to get sent out. Or think about if you're in a bureaucratic organization, like all the people who get honorable discharges out of the military. Well, is Trump really going to sign all those? There's like 100, tens of thousands of people leaving or getting awards or commendations and, signing orders and things like that. All that stuff. Think about how much stuff you'd have to sign. You'd be signing all goddamn day. So that's why you don't have that. Why is it the thing? Because it makes it faster. So, for example, that letter these guys were talking about, let's say it's for your company and you have 500 employees. Are you going to write and sign out 500 of those things? No, it's a thing for all your employees. So you'd have if it was a small enough company, you'd probably just print it out. But if you wanted to, do it the right way, yeah, you would Autopen these. That's how that would work. So I thought Autopen was a figure of speech. No, it's a legitimate thing. Yes. I mean, because the only other option, and I will say, guys, it's and Coke Fairy, going back to this, when I worked as a public defender in Toledo, the municipal court there, the bailiffs, or you call them judicial assistants, whatever you want to call them, for the judge, they would come in every morning and they had this little collection. It was a little wooden tray that had been around forever. Like the things have been, been through the war. Like they definitely had some, they were very cool looking. They were full of all kinds of stamps. And the stamps would be for like different things, refer this person probation, withdraw warrant, all kinds of stuff they could stamp on there. And then finally, the one thing they could do was they had a stamp with the judge's signature. So there's times where like I'd walk in and like if I had a, not only if I'm doing public defender stuff, like one of our clients walked in, public defender client, hey, I miss court, man, we need to get his warrant withdrawn. And you happen to be around right that second. And you're like, okay, you take him up to the duties courtroom and you'd walk in there and, kind of weave your way through everything. Cause in duties, everybody's got a fucking problem they're trying to fix. And you walk up to the bailiff, the bailiff and be like, hey, this guy's here. Can you get the warrant withdrawn? We need to get him reset. And they'd say, is he here? Yeah. I'm like, he's right there. A lot of times the bailiff go, okay, cool. And they'd say, they'd have the date, they'd write the date and, warrant withdrawn, blah, 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 blah. Bond reimposed as previously. They take the judge's signature stamp and now there are times like, especially if they didn't have a prior bench warrant, it was just get them in and out. We got to go. So it's not uncommon that was a valid action of the bailiff and the judges delegated that authority to their people because otherwise the judge would be there all fucking day signing, bullshit orders. So yeah, it's not a real thing though. It's not an unreal thing. Half Irish says, so someone still has to feed the Autopen when it's supposed to sign. Yeah. Like there's going to be somebody who sits there and their job is just bump. And it goes yank the sheet out, put a new one in, boom. And then it yes. So there's somebody sitting there like in the White House, like I'm helping. And it's like, I run the Autopen and they're probably just like, fucking kill me, God. So it's not an unreal thing. Alicia is saying people have access to the president's auto signature card should be on a list. I actually agree. I think this is a very good thing here. Very, very good thing. Let's see here. So it's basically a fancy etch a sketch, kind of. Zero Fuck says Article 2, Section 2 says the president shall have the power to grant reprieve pardons, but nothing about authorizing his team to choose vague categories of people to pardon. I agree, and that's where it becomes an issue. But let's say Joe Biden broke his hands for a second. Or Joe Biden goes and tours a wood chipper factory, and he isn't paying attention, and he shoves his hands in the wood chipper, and they cut his hands off. Joe Biden's running around like, hey, look, fat, I got no hands no more. Okay, how's he going to sign it? He couldn't. So what could he do? He could have one of his employees and say, hey, Annie, you're my advisor. I want you to sign this pardon for me. Because otherwise he's going to have to put the pen in his mouth and he'd have to do that. It's like, no, people can sign on your behalf. You can delegate that. But yes, the idea is there might be rogue people doing shit on their own. That's a concern. Coffee Cake says, I can't imagine him not signing all those. That would really not be like Donald Trump. He didn't fucking sign all of them. I'm sure he signed some of them, but he did not sign. He doesn't sign everything. I'm sure he signs a lot of stuff, but a lot of stuff he doesn't touch. I'm sure if you there's quite a few things he does sign personally, but a lot of things he doesn't. In school for Latin class, I got extra credit for doing my homework on a wax tablet. Nice. Debbie O for $10. Debbie, thank you for this. Thank you for your support tonight. By the way, guys, big support tonight so far. Thank you. I have an Autopen signed note from Donald Trump after the assassination. I heard there were tens of thousands of those. Do you know how long it would take by hand? Yeah. Yeah, it would take forever. Schnauzer Patrol says it should be co-signed by the person doing the pen. Yeah, I mean, there might, making it have a little code next to it. That would be a nice way of doing it. Yeah, deans and college presidents don't sign all your diplomas. The board of trustees for your university, the board of regents, did not sign all those diplomas. Now, on those are probably printed out. But yes, that would be a thing here. Garrett said, I miss stamps and ink pads. Yeah. Coffee says, does he sign those? I don't think he needs to sign those. I think it's Secretary Army. I have to go look. I don't know. I'm not in the military. I was never in the military, so I have a discharge form, but yeah. No, I agree, Zero Fox. The issue is who authorized it. And that's what these depositions are going to be about here. So, yes, consider, and Jefferson Post is correct. Also, good to see you tonight, man. Is saying, consider a king's signet ring that he would wear. He would dip into the wax to seal it. Was law. It was. Sweet Tooth Fairy says they create a stamp for my husband's signature because we're the foreman on a grand jury. Yeah. Yes, and Tone says, is the auto pen mightier than the auto sword? Well, I don't know. I mean, does an auto sword count as a chain sword from Warhammer? Because that might be stronger. Super Iron Bob says the stamps can introduce an opportunity to challenge it was used incorrectly. Yeah, but that's never been an issue. It is a very good integrity-based system we dealt with. So that auto pen leaked. Oh my gosh. You're not nice, chat. Not nice tonight. Be nice. MN Public Records dropped the exhibit list. Much more interesting than the FedGov kayfabe. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that later, guys. We'll get to that later. Yes, stamp a sub. Stamp a like. Russell can use his mouth. Spike uses his mouth like Russell. David says there's an autopsy of Biden. Yes. By the way, David, hello. Hope you're doing well, man. Eichmann used an auto pen signature of Hitler's signature to conduct the Holocaust. I don't know if they did an auto pen that far back. In the military, it's becoming increasingly improved the use of digital signatures. Well, thank you, Morris. I did not know that. But that makes sense. Gina says, I'm in Rehoboth Beach. That actually did happen to Biden yesterday. Are you on vacation in Rehoboth or do you live in Rehoboth? But yes, Rehoboth Beach is very fancy. It's yes, Biden getting his hands cut off. Oh. We got a presidential memorial certificate with Joe's auto pen. Yeah. Like I said, it happens. All the shit that gets sent out, there's no way. And they have multiple auto pens. I'm sure they wear the fuckers out. Yes, the chainsword beats the auto pen. Bill Clinton had the Autopen, yes. I meant auto pen, yes. Hitler invented the Autopen. Jefferson and Franklin created a type of auto pen, like a replicator. Yeah, that's not the idea that because you would hook up your inkwell into it, and there'd be another inkwell already hooked into the system, kind of like a replicator when you're carving wood on a lathe, and you want to make all the banisters the same, all the spindles in the banister the same. Yeah, there's replicators that they used. So. Yeah, auto pen machines have been around since 1918. Really? I did not know that. So, anyway, here we go, guys. Here we go. We're gonna get to the first deposition here, and this is gonna be a good one. This is gonna be Annie Tomasini, and she is the senior advisor to Joe Biden. So this is her. This is done by the Committee on Oversight, guys. And here's the thing, and this is something, Edward, you brought up I wanted to address. If this was serious, why aren't they offering limited immunity to people to testify in front of Congress? Then if they lie, they can be nailed for that. Well, once again, if they were really serious about it, they would be doing that, but they're not. And, as Vince was, I recognize kayfabe when I see it. Yes! The best kayfabe. Then Vodka Blood, who's been a member for 19 months, wanted to say, answer the question, Sean! Well, thank you. So here we go, guys. Here we go. It is time to do this. All right. Will we just be listening to the person pleading the fifth? Well, I don't know. Shh. Not everybody's seen this yet. So here we go. And if you guys, we've never covered depositions before, so this is a good one. These are good ones. Here we go. This was just happened today, July 18th.
We'll go on the record. This is a deposition of Anne-Marie Tomasini conducted by the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform under the authority granted to it pursuant to House Rule 10. Accordingly, House Rule 10 grants the committee broad jurisdiction for the committee to conduct investigations of any matter at any time. In this Congress, Chairman Comer initially requested a voluntary interview of Ms. Tomasini on May 22nd, 2025, as part of the committee's investigation into President Biden's alleged mental and physical decline, the Biden White House's efforts to hide that from the American people, and any unauthorized executive actions. The committee is considering legislative solutions to address these issues, including exercising its authority under the 25th Amendment to the Constitution. I will enter the initial request by Chairman Comer as Exhibit 1.
Now, chat, the reason why they did all this, they have to state why they have all the authority to conduct this deposition, period. So that's why you heard that preamble.
On June 6th, 2025, counsel for Ms. Tomasini confirmed with the Oversight Committee that Ms. Tomasini would sit for a transcribed interview on July 18th. On July 14th, counsel for Ms. Tomasini, citing the nature and purpose of the proceeding, requested the scheduled transcribed interview be changed to a deposition. On July 15th, Chairman Comer issued a subpoena for Ms. Tomasini to appear for this deposition. I will mark both the subpoena and the accompanying cover letter to Ms. Tomasini as Exhibit 2.
This is also a very common, chat, to talk about the subpoena, how this all came about. Very standard, very standard. And if you guys in the future want us to cover some of these depositions, like there's a deposition that's out there of Steven Crowder and Owen Schroyer over falsely accusing a guy of being a mass shooter in a lawsuit. We can watch those. I've seen them. They're actually pretty good. But if you guys want to watch some depositions, we can start doing that too. Kind of throwing that in the mix a little bit.
The committee noticed today's deposition on July 15th, 2025. I will mark the notice for this deposition as Exhibit 3. Can the witness please state her name and spell her last name for the record?
Anne-Marie Tomasini, Tomasini.
Thank you. My name is Jake Greenberg, and I am the Chief Counsel for Investigations for Chairman James Comer. Under the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform's rules, you are allowed to have counsel present to advise you during this deposition. Do you have counsel representing you in a personal capacity present with you today?
Yes.
Will counsel please identify themselves for the record?
Jonathan Sue for Ms. Tomasini.
For the record, starting with the majority staff, can the additional staff members please introduce themselves with their names, titles, and affiliations?
Mitch Benzine, General Counsel for the majority.
Margaret Harker, Senior Advisor for the majority.
Sharon, Senior Professional Staff for the majority. Ellison Tolman, Counsel for the majority. Mallory Kogar, Chief Clerk for the majority.
John Clark, Law Clerk for the majority. Billy Grant, Counsel for the majority.
Ms. Tomasini, before we, excuse me.
These folks are
With counsel, thank you. Ms. Tomasini, before we begin, I would like to go over the ground rules for this deposition. The questioning will proceed in rounds. The majority will ask questions for an hour, and then the minority will have an opportunity to ask questions for an hour if they so choose. To the extent members have questions for the witness, they will be propounded during their side's respective rounds. Do you understand?
Yes.
The clock will stop if you need to confer with counsel. Your counsel is speaking, and when members or staff are speaking during the opposing side's round of questions. We will alternate back and forth until there are no more questions. There's a court reporter taking down everything I say and everything you say to make a written record of the interview. For the record to be clear, please wait until the staffer questioning you finishes each question before you begin your answer, and the staffer will wait until you finish your response before proceeding to the next question. Further, to ensure the court reporter can properly record this deposition, please speak clearly, concisely, and slowly. Also, the court reporter cannot record nonverbal answers such as nodding or shaking your head, so it is important that you answer each question with an audible verbal answer. Do you understand?
Yes.
Exhibits may be entered into the record. Majority exhibits will be identified numerically. Minority exhibits will be identified alphabetically. We want you to answer our questions in the most complete and truthful manner possible, so we will take our time. If you have any questions or do not fully understand the question, please let us know. We will attempt to clarify, add context to, or rephrase our questions. If we ask about specific conversations or events in the past and you are unable to recall the exact words or details, you should testify to the substance of those conversations or events to the best of your recollection.
This is a critical thing, Chad. I tell you guys all the time. If you're ever in a situation, you're like, I don't remember, or here's the best of my remembrance. Sometimes that's the only answer you have. Like, here's what I remember, or I don't remember at all. There's nothing wrong with that.
If you recall only a part of a conversation or event, you should give us your best recollection of those events or parts of conversations that you do recall. Do you understand?
Yes.
You are required by law to answer questions from Congress truthfully. This also applies to questions posed by congressional staff in this interview. Do you understand?
Yes.
If at any time you knowingly make false statements, you could be subject to criminal prosecution, including but not limited to perjury. Do you understand?
Yes.
This includes both knowingly providing false testimony, but also stating that you do not recall or remember something when in fact you do. Do you understand?
Yes.
Furthermore, you cannot tell half-truths or exclude information necessary to make statements accurate. You are required to provide all information that would make your response truthful. A deliberate failure to disclose information can constitute a false statement. Do you understand?
Yes.
Is there any reason you are unable to provide truthful testimony in today's interview?
No.
Please note that if you wish to assert a privilege over any statement today, that assertion must comply with the rules of the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. Pursuant to that, Committee Rule 16C1 states for the chair to consider assertions of privilege over testimony or statements, witnesses or entities must clearly state the specific privilege being asserted and the reason for the assertion on or before the scheduled date of testimony or appearance. I will enter as Exhibit 4, a letter dated June 24th, 2025, to your counsel from Gary Lakowski, Deputy Counsel to the President, informing you that President Trump has determined not to assert executive privilege over issues regarding your assessment of former President Biden's fitness for the office of the President and your knowledge of who exercised executive powers during his administration. Additionally,
sorry, chat. So we need to go here, okay? So this is a letter from the president, and just you need to hear this again, because some of you might say, well, she has things she can do. Well, this. Here you go.
Counsel from Gary Lakowski, Deputy Counsel to the President, informing you that President Trump has determined not to assert executive privilege over issues regarding your assessment of former President Biden's fitness for the office of the President and your knowledge of who exercised executive powers during his administration.
So normally you'd say, well, she could assert executive privilege. Well, guess what? President Trump can say, nah, you can say whatever you need to say. Now, I don't know. Ultimately, I think Biden could still assert privilege on his own for some matters. But right now, this is Trump's way of trying to get around this by saying, look, I authorize you to talk. Even though he's not part of, she's not covered as part of his administration. So that's why that's being waived. And all these things are being introduced on the record. And notice we're 6 minutes in, it's 18 minutes long. I don't think she's going to say too much.
Additionally, President Trump has determined he will not assert immunity to preclude you from testifying before the committee. For the purposes of the deposition, objections must be stated concisely in a non-argumentative and non-suggestive manner. If you refuse to answer a question to preserve a privilege, the committee may seek a ruling from the chair. If the chair overrules any such objection, the witness shall be ordered to answer. If the witness continues to refuse to answer a question despite being ordered to do so, the witness may be subject to sanction. Do you understand?
Yes.
Ordinarily,
there are times that this is where you could be held in contempt, depending on how you refuse to answer. That could lead to an issue.
take a 5-minute break at the end of each hour of questioning, but if you need to take a longer break or a break before that, please let us know and we will be happy to accommodate. However, to the extent that there is a pending question, we would ask that you finish answering the question before we take the break. Do you understand?
Yes.
Finally, I will note for everyone here today that the contents of what we discuss in the deposition today are confidential under the House deposition regulations. Under the rules, the chairman and the ranking minority member shall consult before any release of testimony or transcripts, including portions thereof. This means
It's not. Well, when did it come out? 6 hours ago. It's not so fucking private, is it? Not so confidential now.
it is a violation of House and committee rules to disclose content of the deposition prior to its official release. For this reason, the marked exhibits that we will use today will remain with the court reporter so that they can go into the official transcript, and any copies of those exhibits will be kept at the table or returned to us when we wrap up. Do you have any questions before we begin?
Do you have any questions, Ms. Tomasini?
No.
Jake, are we permitted to make an opening statement?
No, sir. Can the reporter please swear in the witness?
Will you raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly declare and affirm under penalty of perjury that the
That is also not uncommon. You don't get to make opening statements in depots because we're not presentation of evidence, it's just testimony. And now she's being sworn in, and now the perjury trap is engaged.
testimony you're about to give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
My clock reads 10:11, and the majority's hour will begin now. Ms. Tomasini, did you ever advise President Biden on the handling of classified documents found in his garage?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh, buddy. Ooh, buddy. Yeah, so that's a yes. Sounds like she may have been involved in conspiracy to mishandle classified material. So, remember, she can assert the fifth. She can totally do this. Here we go. Don't bother, this is muted. Nice try. Yeah, shocked, not shocked. But here you go, chat.
The record will reflect that Ms. Tomasini has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Ms. Tomasini, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel,
And that is a trap that you get asked. Notice what he said. Are you invoking your Fifth Amendment right because you believe your answer will incriminate you? You never say yes, because that means now you're admitting you think that you committed a crime. Your answer at that point is still, I refuse to answer that question and assert my right to remain silent. And against self-incrimination. You never say yes.
respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Ms. Tomasini, did President Joe Biden or anyone else in the White House instruct you to conceal or destroy classified material found at President Biden's home or office?
Now, see, what does this have to do with the fucking Autopen? What does this have to do with the Autopen? I mean, I'd object to this and say, this is outside the scope of the Autopen. Because notice, even the House GOP, the deposition of the Annie Tomasini Biden Autopen scandal. And we're talking about the classified docs. That should be a separate thing. And I'm a little disappointed because also if you go down here, this is the GOP oversight. Like, this is the actual House organization. Like, this is the GOP Oversight Committee. This is an official entity. And it's their webpage. So, in their YouTube channel. And you're just like, what the fuck are we doing here? So.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
The record will reflect that Ms. Tomasini has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination.
I think
Ms. Tomasini, to be clear, are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Ms. Tomasini, have you ever conspired with anyone in the White House to hide information regarding the Biden family's business dealings?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
The record will reflect that Ms. Tomasini has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Ms. Tomasini, to be clear, are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Ms. Tomasini, did Joe Biden, a member of his family, or anyone at the White House?
Well, yes, David, she's not a professional at this, so yes, it's written down for her. She's not a pro at shutting up. All right, chat. Here we go. Let's keep going.
House ever instruct you to lie regarding his health at any time, including but not limited to in your testimony to Congress today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Tomasini has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Ms. Tomasini, to be clear, are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Ms. Tomasini, is it your intention to decline to answer all questions put to you today by the committee on the basis of the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination?
On behalf of Ms. Tomasini, I can so confirm.
Thank you. Does the minority have questions for the witness?
We do.
Now, her attorney can do that. Her attorney could do that for her. That's considered an acceptable thing. Now, the majority went. Now the minority, the Democrats are going to go. And remember, they have the right to be at this deposition, so now they're going to ask some questions. It's going to be like, Ms. Tomasini, do you like puppies? Yes, I love puppies. So, here we go. Here we go.
Okay, thank you. We'll go off the record.
So I took a break.
We can go on the record. Good morning, Ms. Tomasini. Good morning. Mr. Sue, I understand you had a statement that you wish to make for the record. Would you like to do that now?
Yes, thank you very much. Chairman.
Now, because it's the minority's time, they get to control how they do their deposition. So they're letting them do this dog and pony show and run around and re and scree and piss and shit everywhere. So that's why now it's happening this way. It's lame, I know, but this is you guys want to see some you know you guys like the political stuff once in a while, and I thought this would be a nice light one for Friday night. And because a little later, chat, we're going to be working on the motorcycles a little later. So we got to work on that. And that way we have kind of an early model stream. But let's keep going here.
Comer, Ranking Member Garcia, and members of the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. Ms. Tomasini has fulfilled her obligations to the committee by appearing before you today. A proud native of Massachusetts, Ms. Tomasini was an accomplished college athlete at Boston University, from which she graduated. In her professional career, Ms. Tomasini has served with distinction both in the nonprofit and private sectors in the greater Boston area, as well as at the White House, most recently as Assistant to the President and Deputy Chief of Staff. The committee has asked Ms. Tomasini to testify in connection with an investigation into use of the Autopen. There is no actual evidence of wrongdoing by Ms. Tomasini, and President Biden has already confirmed that he made all decisions concerning the grants of clemency at the end of his term. It is well known that there is an ongoing federal criminal investigation into this matter by the Department of Justice,
and there
ordered
is
by the current White House. This past week, the chairman suggested that it is, quote, very possible, end quote, the investigation could generate criminal referrals to the Department of Justice.
It's not going to. There's going to be nothing, because all it takes is Joe Biden to come in and testify and say, yeah, I told him to do it. It's done. There's going to be no way they can. This is all political theater. This is all political theater. And she knows it. She's like, this is so fucking gay. I got to be here. Oh, well.
Under these circumstances, any reasonable person would seriously consider an invocation of their Fifth Amendment rights. The law is clear that there is absolutely no basis to suggest an invocation of the Fifth Amendment is evidence of wrongdoing. In Ohio v. Reiner, the U.S. Supreme Court explained that one of
Remember, Chad, Ohio v. Reiner. I talked about this case before. Innocent people can assert their Fifth Amendment right. And if you remember, I told you guys, I know the prosecutor who the trial, the felony, murder trial that it came out of. It came out of a shaken baby, and who shook the baby? So it's also what Ken Lay from Enron asserted repeatedly.
the Fifth Amendment's basic functions is to protect innocent men who otherwise might be ensnared by ambiguous circumstances. In recent and historical congressional investigations, persons across the political spectrum have invoked their Fifth Amendment rights to decline to answer questions from Congress. For these reasons, Ms. Tomasini respectfully declines to answer the committee's questions in today's deposition, and thank you for the opportunity to provide this statement.
I will now ask the court reporter to mark as Exhibit A an April 1st, 2025 New York Times article titled "Trump Allied Prosecutor Looks to Undermine Biden Pardons," which describes a Justice Department investigation that, quote, uses the levers of federal law enforcement to try to harass Mr. Biden's family and allies and undermine his decisions as president while scoring political points with President Trump, end quote. I would also like to ask the court reporter to mark as Exhibit B a May 13th, 2025 ABC News article titled "Ed Martin, Trump's DOJ pardon attorney, says he'll review Biden's outgoing pardons," which quotes Mr. Martin as saying that if the targets of his investigation, quote, "can be charged, we'll charge them, but if they can't be charged, we will name them and we will name them," end quote. Next, I would like to ask the court reporter to mark as Exhibit C a May 20th.
This is not her attorney talking. This is because each committee has their lawyer. So the guy asking questions before was the lead investigator for the Oversight Committee. He's an attorney. Right now, asking questions for the Democrats from a minority, they have their own attorney involved who's asking questions and offering exhibits. So that's what's going on here. And I know you guys are like, this is kind of gay. I just wanted you guys to see like a nice, quick depositions. These are nice and short, and it gives you an idea of what a deposition is like in a condensed form.
2025 Truth Social post by President Trump, in which President Trump describes the use of the Autopen during the Biden administration as, quote, treason at the highest level, end quote, and writes that, quote, something very severe should happen to these treasonous thugs, end quote. Next, I'll ask the court reporter to mark as Exhibit D the majority's letter to Ms. Tomasini that was sent 2 days later on May 22nd, 2025.
We'll get to some of these points, guys. You guys want to go faster here? Like, we're almost done. We'll speed it up a little bit. Hold on.
I will now ask the court reporter to mark as Exhibit E a presidential memorandum dated June 4th, 2025, which, among other things, directs counsel to the president in consultation with the attorney general to investigate the allegations that the majority has leveled in this matter. I'm also going to ask the court reporter to mark as Exhibit F a June 5th, 2025 NBC News story titled "Trump Says He Doesn't Have Evidence of Any Illegal Autopen Use by the Biden White House." Now I'll ask the court reporter to mark as Exhibit G a July 13th, 2025 New York Times article titled "Biden Says He Made the Clemency Decisions That Were Recorded with Autopen." I'm also going to ask the court reporter to mark as Exhibit H a July 15th, 2025 NBC News article titled "Lead Investigator into Biden's Use of an Autopen Signed Letters with a Digital Signature." This article has been redacted to remove the names of Oversight Committee staff. Finally, I'm going to ask the court reporter to mark as Exhibit I, a July 16th, 2025 story in Politico regarding this investigation, which states in part, quote, House Oversight Chair James Comer said it was very possible the investigation could result in criminal referrals to the Department of Justice, end quote. We can go off the record.
Well,
all right, on the record. Ms. Tomasini, considering your invocation of the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination pursuant to the terms of the subpoena, you are excused. We'll go off the record.
So there you go, chat. That's how that works. A big mouse fart. Nobody's getting, like I said, chat, no one's getting in trouble. And ultimately, the use of the Autopen, there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing we can do about it. You want to know what was off the record? Well, just going through it. She looks scared. Oh, no, she is not scared at all. But hello, Kathy. So, how are you doing? Guess, does anyone look scared in the situation? No, she was told. She didn't even have to hire the lawyer. The lawyer was provided to her. Do what I say. He met with her. He says, do what the fuck I say. Read what I give you. You'll be fine. And she's, she's a deputy chief of staff and a senior advisor to the president. She's talking with Joe and Jill, as we know it. Like, there's nothing there for her. She's doing fine, chat. Is she getting paid to sit there? No. But she's got, she gets paid because she's part of the establishment. So. Let's see here. We got a bunch of questions, though, to get to here. Jefferson Post says, imagine the veracity of every act being challenged. It'd be bad. Yes, it would. Thank you for super chat. Ag Biochemist says, for the USDA, every signature is digital unless it's by Autopen. They moved to the digital stuff during COVID because all the telework shit during the lockdowns. Yeah. 10K View says, Sean will be just listening to persons pleading the fifth to all questions posed. I think so. Tech Guy Cell says, on advice of counsel, my statement is suffer, bitch. I'm going to build a church on that deposition. Jefferson Post says, who has to force the contempt order? Well, it's pursued through the DOJ, like Steve Bannon. He went to jail for the contempt of Congress, just like Roger Stone did. And J-Rock says, pro tip, most people take the fifth, did something illegal. Yes, but there are also some who didn't do anything illegal. P-Dub says, were they trying to link this to the Her report a little bit? I think so, because in the Her report, Biden was clearly not with it when you hear the interview. He's clearly not with it. So I think that's, yes, a little bit. The Connie Death Squad, thank you for being here. Thank you for the $5 super chat saying, well, would you look at the time? Cecilia says she was specifically warned before the questioning she can't do it. No, she can. You can't invoke the fifth if it's not proper, but you have every right to invoke the Fifth Amendment on all those questions. That was entirely legal and an actual intelligent use of the Fifth Amendment. I mean, if the roles were reversed, I'd hope people being questioned by a Democrat House Oversight Committee, like fifth. Because that's how you have to do it. They're setting you up for a perjury trap. Philip Kogan is saying, to be honest, any pleading of the fifth in regards to their official government duties should be treated as an immediate removal from office. Well, she's not in office anymore, and a criminal referral. Yeah, I don't know about the criminal referral, but I could see about being removed from office. Bad weather biker, did someone say motorcycle? Yes, I did. Well, these kind of motorcycles. So, but yes, motorcycles. Edward Scott says, in civil cases, taking the fifth is presumed guilt. Yes, it can be presumed. Jefferson Post says, oh, fuck my life. More massholes, word plague. Well, yeah. Well, at least you recognize it. Then Marlene says, I find it slimy that the Congress kidders and surrogates can enter fake news onto the record. Remember, if it's in a Democrat like committee, they'll be offering, the Republicans will be offering shit too. So it's just, 6 in one hand, half dozen the other. When you're in the minority, this is what you do. It's part of the kayfabe of government. So Haven Cake says 40K model painting when? Well, maybe soon. Maybe soon. I got to talk to Stabby, see if he can get me some tanks printed up, and I'll work on doing some of that. But I don't have any 40K miniatures right now. So, yeah. EDW Raptor, you could say, could the person being deposed be a complete ass to say something, oh, I know something about this? And then say, on the advice of counsel, I mean, you wouldn't want to do that. That's tempting fate. It's Cecilia. I was responding to the guy saying she could just say, I don't recall. Well, no, he's trying to tell her, if you do know, tell us to the extent you know. But you should say, I just don't remember. I don't remember. I don't remember. She could say, I just don't remember shit. I don't remember. She could say that, but I don't recall is not going to get her very far. It's easier to assert the fifth. So. Those are some very good questions, though. Very good questions. Am I a Blood Angels guy? I like the Blood Angels, but I also like the Black Templars. I like the Death Watch too. Those guys are cool. KLF says it worked for Cato. Yeah, well. Letty says for $4.99, would you consider reaching out to Az and Sargon for a painting stream? Yeah, but they don't. I mean, I'd love to, but I don't think they're going to be like. I'd reach out to them, sure, but I don't know if they're gonna be like, "Who the hell are you, mate?" And I don't know. I certainly would. I think that'd be fun. It really bothers me. You cough in your hand rather than your elbow. It's gross. So you want me to dab? You'd rather touch it, vodka blood. Look. Now you got cooties. I mean, I have clean wipes and stuff up here I wipe off with, so. Shud likes a big black man. Yes, I love the salamanders. They're big and burly and they're flaming. They will have you on, really? Okay. Isn't Az from New Zealand? I don't think so. I think he's from Britain. There, is that better? Is that better? Stop. Kathy says, when's your birthday stream? We can wear hats and have cupcakes. My birthday's August 10th. It's Sunday. And speaking of that, 2.0 gave me another. So, chat, if you didn't get in here early enough, this little thing here is a cart she got me, and I was putting it together. That's why I was late. And then she said open something, so I'm opening something. So now you're all here, and we'll start the second round of depositions. What the hell is this? Case. And it's red, a rouge, rojo, a rot, depending on your language. I don't know what you call it in Russian. I don't know what red is in Russian, so sorry. Safa Russians. Safa. Let's see here. It's a paint container, I guess. Ooh. This is kind of cool. It's got a bunch of little, I could put the little paint jars in. Oh, yeah, nice and deep in here. Nice and deep. Nice and deep. They go in there nice and deep. Pull out these big old plugs. Nice. Hold on here. Let's see. I got one of these sitting right here anyway. So let's see. Is it fitting there nice and... Sits in there like that, chat? And look, it just goes... Boop. And oh, it doesn't fit there. So what fits in these little things then? I don't know what fits, chat. I don't know what fits because the little bottles don't fit. We'll have to figure that out. Yeah. Well, I'll show you later. I don't know. Maybe I just need to work on it. So we'll work on it, chat. Thank you, sweetheart. We'll figure it out, baby. All right. So, heard on the internet that you're wrong. Yeah. Well. Yes, the circle, dot. Now you got HIV. Spud Gun's been a member for 7 months. Thank you. It says Sargon and Sean painting stream. I'd watch it. Yes. And give you guys all AIDS. So. You can't even see the card against the safe. Well, I don't. I think one of the wheels is locked on this fucker because it wants to tip over, but it's right here. There. So we got to figure that out. So it's a Fabraldo. All right. It's a makeup case. So it's a kit like Patrice O'Neill had. Oh, no. That's actually really slick. Bottle paints, yeah. I just got here. Want to make sure it's like a Jedi. Nick Koenig said I could be a gross sex pest. Yeah, well. And then Angel said, I missed a stream. No, we are moving on to the second part of it now. Making sure I caught up. All right, chat. Here we go. We're moving on to the next guy in this. Anthony Bernal, Jill Biden's. And we'll speed through this a little bit because, yeah, there's a bit of a spoiler alert in this. But you guys, like I said, I think it's important. You guys want to see how the sausage is made. Here you go.
Of Anthony Bernal conducted by the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform under the authority granted to it pursuant to House Rule 10. Accordingly, House Rule 10 grants the committee broad jurisdiction for the committee to conduct investigations of any matter at any time. The committee noticed today's deposition on July 11th, 2025. I will mark the notice for this deposition as Exhibit 1. Can the witness please state his name and spell his last name for the record?
Anthony Bernal, Bernal.
Thank you. My name is Jake Greenberg, and I am the Chief Counsel for Investigations for Chairman James Comer. Under the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform's rules, you are allowed to have counsel present to advise you during this deposition. Do you have counsel representing you in a personal capacity present with you today? Will counsel please identify themselves for the record?
Oh, it does look
Jonathan
like
Sue on behalf of Mr. Bernal.
Margaret Hines.
Thank you. For the record, starting with the majority staff, can the additional staff members please introduce themselves with their name, title, and affiliation?
Margaret Harker, Senior Advisor for the majority.
Mitch Benzine, General Counsel for the majority.
Ellison Tolan, Counsel for the majority. Sherry, Senior Professional Staff for the majority.
Bob Burns, Director for the majority. John Stornick, Law Clerk for the majority. Billy Grant, Counsel for the majority.
Peter Spector, Professional Staff Member for the majority.
Melvin Soto, the Legal Director for the majority.
Mallory Kogar, Chief Justice for the majority.
Scott Andrew, Intern for the majority.
In the minority.
Minority staff.
Thank you all. And the members in the room, will you identify yourselves, please?
James Comer, Chairman, House Oversight Committee. Pete Sessions, Chairman, Government Operations and Federal Workforce.
Now, notice, chat, this one here, James Comer, the head of the House Oversight Committee, is actually at this one. The head of it is actually here. Yeah. This dude's struggling against the Reaper. Well, I'm sure he's old enough that doesn't matter for him. But yes. The Reaper comes for us all. The Reaper comes for us all, chat. Don't act like it won't. But yes, Fred Armisen's impersonation of Ezra Klein is uncanny. Oh, no. You guys are stop. But notice there's a lot of important people at this one.
In this Congress, Chairman Comer initially requested a voluntary interview of Mr. Bernal on May 22nd, 2025, as part of the committee's investigation into President Biden's alleged mental and physical decline, the Biden White House's efforts to hide that from the American people, and any unauthorized executive actions. The committee is considering legislative solutions to address these issues, including exercising its authority under the 25th Amendment to the Constitution. I will enter the initial request by Chairman Comer as Exhibit 2. On June 6, 2025, counsel for Mr. Bernal confirmed with the Oversight Committee that Mr. Bernal would sit for a transcribed interview on June 26th. On June 25th, counsel for Mr. Bernal informed the committee Mr. Bernal would not attend the transcribed interview scheduled for the next day. On June 26th, Chairman Comer issued a subpoena for Mr. Bernal to appear for this deposition. I will mark both the subpoena and the accompanying cover letter to Mr. Bernal as Exhibit 3. Mr. Bernal, before we begin, I would like to go over the ground rules for this deposition. The questioning will proceed in rounds.
Real quick chat, Mr. Bernal, not Bernal. This is not Phil. Also, this guy is a senior advisor to Jill Biden. Jill Biden, as the first lady, does not get to invoke executive privilege, so that's not really going to be an issue here. They're probably going to say Trump is waiving it anyway, but generally the first lady doesn't have executive privilege in the same way that the president does. She's not directly part of the decision making, which would warrant the privilege. So here we go.
Majority will ask questions for an hour, and then the minority will have an opportunity to ask questions for an hour if they choose. To the extent members have questions for the witness, they will be propounded during their side's respective rounds. Do you understand? Can you please speak up? Thank you. The clock will stop if you need to confer with counsel. Your counsel is speaking, and when members or staff are speaking during the opposing side's round of questions. We will alternate back and forth until there are no more questions. Do you understand?
Yes.
There's a court reporter taking down everything I say and everything you say to make a written record of the interview. For the record to be clear, please wait until the staffer questioning you finishes each question before you begin your answer, and the staffer will wait until you finish your response before proceeding to the next question. Further, to ensure the court reporter can properly record this deposition, please speak clearly, concisely, and slowly. Also, the court reporter cannot record nonverbal answers such as nodding or shaking your head, so it is important that you answer each question with an audible verbal answer. Do you understand?
Yes.
Exhibits may be entered into the record. Majority exhibits will be identified numerically. Minority exhibits will be identified alphabetically. Do you understand?
Yes.
We want you to answer our questions in the most complete and truthful manner possible, so we will take our time. If you have any questions or do not fully understand the question, please let us know, and we will attempt to clarify, add context to, or rephrase our questions. Do you understand?
Yes.
If we ask about specific conversations or events in the past and you are unable to recall the exact word or details, you should testify to the substance of those conversations or events to the best of your recollection. If you recall only a part of a conversation or event, you should give us your best recollection of those events or parts of conversations that you do recall. Do you understand?
Yes.
You are required by law to answer questions from Congress truthfully. This also applies to questions posed by congressional staff in this deposition. Do you understand?
Yes.
If at any time you knowingly make false statements, you could be subject to criminal prosecution, including but not limited to perjury. Do you understand?
Yes.
This includes both knowingly providing false testimony, but also stating that you do not recall or remember something when in fact you do. Do you understand?
Yes.
Furthermore, you cannot tell half-truths or exclude information necessary to make statements accurate. You are required to provide all information that would make your response truthful. A deliberate failure to disclose information can constitute a false statement. Do you understand?
Yes.
Is there any reason you are unable to provide truthful testimony in today's interview?
No.
Please note that if you wish to assert a privilege over any statement today, that assertion must comply with the rules of the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. Pursuant to that, Committee Rule 16C1 states for the chair to consider assertions of privilege over testimony or statements, witnesses or entities must clearly state the specific privilege being asserted and the reason for the assertion on or before the scheduled date of testimony or appearance. I will enter it as Exhibit 4, a letter dated June 24th, 2025, to your counsel from Gary Lukowski, Deputy Counsel to President Trump, informing you that President Trump has determined not to assert executive privilege over issues regarding your assessment of former President Biden's fitness for the office of the president and your knowledge of who exercised executive powers during his administration. Additionally, President Trump has determined that he will not assert immunity to preclude you from testifying before the committee. For the purposes of the deposition, objections must be stated concisely and in a non-argumentative and non-suggestive manner. If the witness refuses to answer a question to preserve a privilege, the committee may seek a ruling from the chair. If the committee overrules any such objection, the witness shall be ordered to answer. If the witness continues to refuse to answer a question despite being ordered to do so, the witness may be subject to sanction. Do you understand?
Yes.
Ordinarily, we take a 5-minute break at the end of each hour of questioning, but if you need a longer break or a break before that, please let us know and we will be happy to accommodate. However, to the extent that there is a pending question, we would ask that you finish answering the question before we take a break. Do you understand?
Yes.
Finally, I will note for everyone here today that the contents of what we discuss in the deposition today is confidential under the House deposition regulations.
Until
Under
we
the rules,
release it.
the chairman and ranking minority member shall consult before any release of testimony or transcripts, including portions thereof. This means it is a violation of House and committee rules to disclose content of the deposition prior to its official release. For this reason, the marked exhibits that we will use today will remain with the court reporter so they can go into the official transcript, and any copies of those exhibits will be kept at the table or returned to us when we wrap up. Do you have any questions before we begin?
No.
Jake, I have a question. Are we afforded the opportunity to make an opening statement?
No, not today. Can the reporter please swear in the witness?
So would you please raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly declare and affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to
His
give
counsel's
will be the truth, the whole truth, and
bald.
nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Whiskey Sour says, can he plead the fifth? Everybody's allowed to plead the fifth. There's no, like, every person, Joe Biden would be entitled to plead the fifth. There is no limitation on who could plead the fifth. Now, you have to be able to doing it for the right reason, but everybody has the right to plead the fifth. It's your constitutional right, so you can use it.
All right. My clock reads 10:10. The majority's hour will begin now. Mr. Bernal, did you ever advise President Joe Biden to pardon his son, Hunter Biden?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Now, notice they're asking him very specific questions, different from the other lady. They must know something, and he must have been very much involved in that. And notice they didn't waive executive privilege here, because there was none.
Thank you. We're going to go off the record real quick. Okay, we'll go back on the record.
Thanks, J-Rock.
Mr. Bernal, was
Asshole.
President Joe Biden fit to exercise the duties of the president?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Bernal has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Mr. Bernal, please be very clear.
Now, remember, chat, you don't have to know what specific crime you're violating. And they know there's an investigation going, so he could say, I have a belief you guys are going to come after me. So he has every right to insert the fifth, even though there's like not necessarily a negligence in office law or other things that could be out there. But that's why he's doing that. And this guy's doing it with he's got super serial face on. But that's why they're, so I know some of you are thinking, well, what crime could he have committed? I don't know. That's not his job to know.
Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Mr. Bernal, did any unelected official or family member of President Joe Biden execute the duties of the presidency?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Bernal has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Mr. Bernal, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Once again, the way you do it.
Mr. Bernal, did President Joe Biden ever instruct you to lie regarding his health at any time, including but not limited in your testimony to Congress today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Bernal has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Mr. Bernal, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Mr. Bernal, is it your intention to decline to answer all questions put to you today by the committee on the basis of the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination?
I can represent that that is his intention.
Thank you. Does the minority wish to ask questions?
Yes, we do.
Go off the record.
All right, we're back on the record. Would the members who just came into the room identify themselves, starting with Mr. Donald?
Howard Donald's member of Congress, Florida's 19th district.
And Jasmine Crockett, Texas 30.
Mr. Bernal, good morning. Mr. Sue, you weren't afforded the opportunity to make a statement by the majority. Would you like to make that statement now?
Yes, thanks very much.
And notice, chat, who's there? Jasmine Crockett, among other people. So now his attorney's going to offer the statement. And notice, he doesn't do it because if he does it, it's the perjury trap is attached. So the attorney offers the statement. That way he's not, it can't be attributed to him for purposes of perjury.
Chairman Comer, Ranking Member Garcia, and members of the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability. Mr. Bernal appears before you today fulfilling his obligations to the committee. An Arizona native, Mr. Bernal has served with distinction in 3 presidential administrations, most recently as Assistant to the President and Chief of Staff to the First Lady. Mr. Bernal is rightfully proud of his service to the nation. The committee has sought testimony from Mr. Bernal for nearly 2 years without any actual evidence of wrongdoing by Mr. Bernal. Most recently, the committee seeks Mr. Bernal's testimony based on a purported controversy regarding the use of the Autopen at the conclusion of President Biden's term. President Biden has already confirmed that he personally made all decisions concerning his grants of clemency. While the committee only recently began its Autopen investigation, the chairman has already declared that this matter is, quote, the biggest scandal in Oval Office history, end quote. In addition, on June 4th, 2025, the White House directed the Department of Justice to open a criminal investigation into this matter. The chairman has acknowledged that, quote, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi has announced an investigation at the Department of Justice, so we're very interested, end quote. Under these circumstances, it is entirely appropriate and justified for Mr. Bernal to invoke his rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution. In Ohio v. Reiner, the U.S. Supreme Court explained that one of the Fifth Amendment's, quote, basic functions is to protect innocent men who otherwise might be ensnared by ambiguous circumstances, end quote. The record is also clear that persons of the full range of the political spectrum in recent and historical congressional investigations have invoked their Fifth Amendment rights to decline to answer questions from Congress. Any suggestion that such an invocation is itself evidence of wrongdoing would be highly irresponsible and flatly wrong, particularly from those elected to represent the people and uphold the Constitution. For these reasons, Mr. Bernal respectfully declines to answer any of the committee's questions today in today's deposition, and thank you for the opportunity to provide the statement.
I'm entering as Exhibit A an April 1st, 2025 New York Times article titled Trump Allied Prosecutor Looks to Undermine Biden Pardons, which describes a Justice Department investigation that, quote, uses the levers of federal law enforcement to try to harass Mr. Biden's family and allies and undermine his decisions as president while scoring political points with President Trump, end quote. I'm also going to mark as Exhibit B a May 13th, 2025 ABC News article titled Ed Martin, Trump's DOJ pardon attorney, says he'll review Biden's outgoing pardons, which quotes Mr. Martin as saying that if the targets of his investigation, quote, can be charged, we'll charge them. But if they can't be charged, we will name them, and we will name them, end quote. Yep. I'm also going to enter as Exhibit C a May 20th, 2025 Truth Social post by President Trump, in which President Trump describes the use of the Autopen during the Biden administration as, quote, treason at the highest level, end quote, and writes that, quote, something very severe should happen to these treasonous thugs, end quote. I'm also going to ask the court reporter to mark as Exhibit D the majority's letter to Mr. Bernal, sent 2 days later. I'm entering as Exhibit E a presidential memorandum dated June 4th, 2025, which, among other things, directs the counsel to the president in consultation with the attorney general to investigate the allegations that the majority has leveled in this matter. I'm entering as Exhibit F a June 5th, 2025 NBC News story titled, Trump says he doesn't have evidence of any illegal Autopen use by the Biden White House. And I'm entering as Exhibit G a July 13th, 2025 New York Times article titled, Biden says he made the clemency decisions that were recorded with Autopen. And I'm marking as Exhibit H a redacted version of a July 15th, 2025 NBC News article titled "Lead Investigator into Biden's Use of an Autopen Signed Letters with a Digital Signature." This copy has been redacted to remove committee staff names. We're off the record.
All right, chat. Like I said, let's do 2 times speed. I mean, I'm
We're on
not going to
record.
lie. This is,
Mr. Bernal,
to be fair, I am trolling you guys a little bit because these guys do the Fifth Amendment here because it's Friday. But yes, this is some stuff out there, you guys, and we'll get to the Aaron stuff here in a second.
considering your invocation of your Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination pursuant to the terms of the subpoena, you are excused. We'll go off the record.
And he's done. So that's it. It's a load of baloney, yes. Well, I mean, do you want to watch Kurt now? I mean, so let's see here. Rob Dorr for law. Member for 33 months. Rob, good to see you, man. Good to see you. I need to reach out to you. We should do another stream because I know you guys have had some victories up in Minnesota now. Second Amendment wise. Guys, remember Rob Dorr? I don't know if you still are, but at the time was a charge of lobbying for the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus. Hey guys, we had him on a while back, and he talked about what's it like being a lobbyist and the work you got to do and how it all comes together. But member for 33 months. Woo! Thank you for the support, man. I appreciate it. Jefferson Post says this is what the sign says: nothing ever happens. Very true. Very true. So. Aldo Gusto says, I just saw the Alyssa clip on the Milton Crew seething about me. Apparently, I'm Aaron's best friend, and I never laugh at him. You're right. I've never called Aaron gay. I've never called him a faggot. No. And it's interesting. The same people that are worried about me, it's like, do they ever call Nick a piece of shit? They always cry about Aaron, but it's like, Nick's a good boy. It's like, no. They're both gay. They're both cocks. They're both cringe. I dare you guys to say that. Say it. You won't. But they are. Say it. Let's see who's really honest. Yes, they're both retarded. Yes, they are all gay. Oh, you meant them. Oops. Yeah, well, whoever. Everybody call them both out. Everyone needs to say, you're both gay, you're both cringe, you're both cocks. You ate each other's goo. Fucking Blood says I may be gay, but I'm no Ricada. You're also no Aaron. You're also no Steel Toe. So Cooper's like, wait, you want the Melton fans to say that? Yeah, the Melton and Nick fans. Do you guys have the honesty? Can you say all that like I did? I know you can't. Yes, but I like sandwiches, which is worse. I know. So I hope Aaron says in court that he fucked Nick. I mean, I did mention it on the farms. If he admits they're like gay lovers, that kind of ups the things there. Scooby Doo says they both ate goo out of those nasty hose ghetto dugouts. Yeah. Yes. All right, chat. Well, we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to talk about the documents that got dropped, like the exhibit list and stuff for Aaron. And this is a little interesting. It's a little interesting. I don't have all these posts right here, but we'll get to them. You guys are asking some good questions here. Any modeling tonight? Yes, we are. Guys, we got to work on these motorcycles. 2.0 got me these motorcycles. I have. Look at this one. These have impressive amount of fucking detail. And I'm going to try building one all the way, and then we'll paint it and see how that goes. And then the next time we paint, I think we may just put them both together and paint them. I think that'll be easier overall. So we'll do that. Chat don't ask good questions. They ask the best questions. Well, yeah. So we'll be doing some model stuff here in a little bit. All right. Let's see. Oh, let's see here. Here we go. Okay. So this is Aaron's, like, and once again, for all you Mongoloids out there, I still think Aaron's going to lose. So I don't know how much more clear to say that. I still think he is going to lose. Especially against Nick. I still think he loses. Merely because Nick is Kayla's husband and Kayla is the victim of the case that Aaron is the defendant on. I guess I'll say it again, but I'm sure they won't get this far into the stream. So who knows? Who knows? Who knows? We'll keep going here. No, Sean says no. It just means another win for the toe. Yes. That's all they hear. That's all they hear me say. Because I didn't go, I love Daddy Patrick Melton. I love Daddy Nick Rekieta. Unless you say that, they don't understand what you're saying. No. All right. So, but what do we have here, chat? This is the petitioner's exhibit list, and this is what you got to do. You got to provide exhibits. You got to say, here's what we're doing, Your Honor. A bunch of NLO messages. Now, this is kind of vague, but, you know, who knows what that means? NLO November 9th Twitter post, or Rekieta Twitter post. A bunch of Twitter posts, June 29th, 2025. From the Rekieta Twitter page, Patrick Melton's post, a bunch of Twitter posts, the Nick Rekieta stream post service of the ex parte order, the Patrick Melton stream where Nick wishes death. Yeah, that's gonna, once again, that's fucking brilliant. You guys did all that shit on stream. You know, the stream where Nick says he won't be involved in killing Aaron, Nick's live stream post service of the ex parte order. They're just doing all this. Nick's live stream regarding the HRO. Nick and Melton live stream post HRO. Nick Rekieta and Patrick Smelton. It says Smelton. February 28th, 2025 live stream. They're going all out, chat. Hold on here. Which direction do we go? Oh, we gotta go over this way. Let's see here. The Hackamania live stream. Yep, that is going to be used. I don't know how well it's going to work, but yeah, Patrick Melton's live stream. The live stream comments about the minor child. Yeah, like talking about her being a cup holder and shit. I'm sure the judge is going to be thrilled about that. It may be, nothing happens, but he's going to have to squirm and explain why that's okay. And the judge is going to be like, I don't think it's fucking funny. A bunch of NLO shit. I don't know what this means. Nobody likes onions because it's on 20, so it's a separate thing, like what date and time. YouTube videos, I think that's a little vague. And any and all exhibits identified by respondent. Now, that's a fair one you do there. Anything you're going to introduce, I'm going to use. So they reserve the right to introduce other exhibits as necessary for rebuttal evidence due to presented at trial. And also, chat, remember, impeachment evidence does not have to be disclosed because you don't know you're going to need it until there's, untruthfulness and impeaching credibility. So the petitioner's witness list. Ashley LaRue, that is Aaron's ex-wife, I believe. I don't know. Ann Gosh, or Gotch, or Gotch, or Gooch. Slampiece. Any and all witnesses named by Nick. Aaron himself and Nick in this case, because you can call those parties. Because it's a civil hearing, you can call them. Now, we have the same thing for Patrick Melton. It literally doesn't change anything there. Don't call the phone numbers, chat. Don't be a faggot about it. It's the same stuff, the same exact same things here for Melton's case. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I don't think it's going to work. I think they're probably going to do a good they're going to do the good college try on it. I'm sure it'll be a nice try, but it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. Couldn't they call Cheeto and the boxing coach? They could, but they're not. I don't know why they're not. I don't know why they're not. You'd think you'd want to bring in Cheeto to say he tried to, he had to kick these people out. But yeah, Cheetos didn't want to be there. We don't know. We don't know. Let's see here. Given the hearing is only 30 minutes, does this have to be presented in court? Yes. They got 30 fucking minutes to knock this out. So there's I think that's why I think they're really gonna focus, like if Aaron's ex-wife's coming in, they're really gonna hammer on the kids shit for Melton just to fucking burn it down, and Melton talking about fucking Aaron's kids and shit. I think that's what they're gonna hammer on. I don't think it's gonna be enough. I don't think it's gonna be enough at the end of the day. Tech guy says I already have the auto dialer going. Jesus. Karam says, with this change of the toast, they said they were domestic lovers and partners. Like I said, I think that's a very interesting gambit to run. I don't think it. I mean, like, is it Aaron's gonna have to come out and admit I'm a big old? If Aaron came out Aaron admits to being a big faggot, like that's a hell of an argument. You are literally incinerating your entire life to win the HRO. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze there. Although we know Aaron is a fag. We know they're gay. Jefferson says, what additional factors would be needed? Well, they would need to show that they're being harassing in nature towards Aaron. I just think there's going to be the circumstances surrounding it where the magistrate or the judge is going to be torn, especially on the ones where Nick is speaking out against the man who victimized his wife in a crime. That's going to be a tough one to say he can't do that. If that makes any sense, I think that's, like I said, I think that's what's going to kill Aaron's case. It's just anything that has a substantially adverse impact on somebody's safety, security, or privacy. I mean, there's a, that's kind of how this goes. It's really ultimately the issue. What about Gito and Kiki? They're not bringing them. Yeah, they're calling a lot of people. Can Aaron say he was in a sexual and very romantic relationship with Nick? He could. I don't, like I said, guys, like, you guys laugh. God, I hope they don't do that. Like, that's just fucking mental if that happens. That is absolutely mental if that happens. What the hell is this down here? Oh, it's a piece of paper towel that he's using for paint. Not calling Cheeto, that's like the Karen Reed prosecution, not calling Proctor. Yeah. That's what, Josh is saying that Aaron needs to push the intimate relationship stuff. I mean, yeah, but he didn't allege it in the thing, so it's like, are you committing perjury now? Yes, so the Baldo's wars rage on. Yes, they do. Vodka Bliss says, fuck, Sean, enough with that. What? Which thing? Oh. KLS says they are harassing him, being Kayla's husband didn't give him immunity. I understand that, but Aaron's in a different situation than the average person. He is, I still think that's going to be seen as retaliation against Nick, since he can't retaliate against Kayla. Like I said, I don't know how the judge is going to look at it, but that's what I think. I think the judge will do it that way. That's why I think she's going to dismiss it. And then the Melton one really just comes down to how much all this shit pisses off the judge. But I don't think it's going to be enough. I still don't think it's going to be enough. HIV once, is it Aaron's fault for hiring a dipshit lawyer the first time around? No. His attorney, Todd Peterson, did a very good job. No, everything was fine there. That wasn't a problem. Gino can't afford the trip. Well, they could have him appear virtually. Scooby Jew is a new member. Thank you for the support, man. I appreciate it. Big freaking support tonight, chat. Jefferson Post says Nick being the victim's spouse is a fair point. I think it is. I think it's a major point. A major point. I just found the missing McRib from dinner. No. So. County Death Squad says, no, Sean, we need the memes, and Aaron needs to admit to filling Nick's goon cave with his goo. Yes, we do that. Mystery Sniper says we need all of this Holt and Ricada thing is mental retardation. It is. They're gay. They're cucks. They're cringe. They're retarded. They both are. Aaron is kind of retarded. Yes, he is. The real problem is Melton is first. No, it's not. I mean, that's actually bad for Nick. But we'll see. We'll see. And, you know, the judge may take the day and then decide to issue by the end of the day. Nate Corbett says, you make me hate our legal system. Well, suffer. Suffer. I was hoping for the hat trick on contempt. Yeah. Scooby Jew says, aren't restraining orders mutual? No, they're not. They're pretty much always one-way streets. You have the petitioner and then the respondent or the target. You know, the person that's applied to. It's almost always a one-way street. HIV once, as we've already won, we just need to know who to laugh at. Yeah. How does Aaron's inability to change the tires on the gay Tahoe come into play here? Well, a Tahoe itself isn't gay, but yes, not being able to change the tires is pretty gay. Even I could change the tires on a car. I'm a big fat guy. I have to waddle around to it. I did the brakes on my car. Fronts and backs. Like, yeah. You know, you got to be able to take care of that shit. Got to be able to take care of that shit. Let's see here. Legal system only works if you have money. I mean, to an extent. But having good facts is important. But yes, but Aaron was Kayla's quasi-spouse, so it's a wash. Oh, Jesus Christ. You guys are... So, in some states they're mutual, yeah, but generally speaking, a restraining order is going to be a one-way thing, a one-way affair. Melton will discuss the judge enough to get the Baldo executed by the bailiffs. I mean, they could fucking talk themselves into a hole, certainly. But I don't think they're going to be that retarded. I think they're going to be smart enough not to do it. So. Anna Wall says, MR is trying to make the gag order about Kayla a de facto order and speaking about him, and that seems wrong. Well, it is what it is. Anderson Cooper says, get a load of Sean guy bragging about having enough space to work on his car. Well, I got to be able to waddle around and roll around on the ground to move around. So there you go. His Tahoe is sitting on rims that require a lug key that he does not own. This has to speak to incompetence. It's still on rims? I don't listen to Aaron enough to know, but you could buy a fucking lug key. It's not that hard. It'd be funny if Melton pulls a Tomlinson, maybe, and tries to no-child the judge. Well, that one thing that's already out there from New Jersey, Melton tried to get a little lippy with the judge, and I think he realized like he kind of overplayed his hand there. Let's see. What else we got? They had rings, chat. It was a cover. And wheel locks are bullshit and gay. Yeah. Yeah. Melton would be better pro se than with Frank White. I mean, that's the thing. Frank White's fucking dangerous. He got, fucking blew Nick's suppression hearing and all that. Aaron should argue it's a harassment conspiracy involving Melton and Nick. Well, based on the evidence that's there, yes, the judge is going to see it, and it's basically going to be one massive hearing, more or less. Stacey, I must have a lift to fit under the car. Well, I don't get really under the car. As far as I can reach is the stuff I can work on. So, no, I can't really get under the car. But that's why you have a floor jack and jack stands. White blew out Nick's case worse than Aaron blew out Nick's bottle holder. Yeah. So, Edward Scott says the cover equals queer cover. No. No. Let's see here. Let's see. I think we're actually Nick's ass is a literal cup holder. Yeah, it's a bottle service with Nick's ass. Oh, let's see here. Let me see here. Oh, who just messaged me? Chuga's saying, but why isn't that enough for Melton? I'm just not sure. I mean, because he went to like public places. He didn't show up to like Aaron's house. I think is going to be tough for him. It was for a court hearing. He's allowed to be at a court hearing. He's allowed to take pictures at a court hearing. There's a lot of things you can do at the court hearings. He's allowed to go to the golf course. He's allowed to go to the gym. He's allowed to go to Stoney's. I just don't think that's going to be enough. I don't think it's going to be enough because that one really will come across as some gay internet bullshit. So that's why I think so. Like I said, Cheeto says he can't go to Stoney's now, but he showed up there. Otto says you are allowed to stalk. How did he stalk? He went to places that day Aaron was not going to be. So it wasn't stalking necessarily. Like, you're going to say that, you're going to have to be specific. Cecilia says, so some legal documents. Well, there's nothing else to talk about. It's like, here you go. July 23rd, 1:30. That's a legal document there. Let's see. Let's see. Kimbo says, I'll give you 50,000 if you send Kayla your nudes right now, as well as your application to the cover. Well, I'll be good. So, I mean, well, and here's the thing. Even if he says that, even if that's true, I still don't think it's going to be enough. Don't think that's going to be enough, chat. Although Melton getting the HRO against him and Nick not getting one is the most hilarious outcome possible. Because Nick can say whatever he wants, but Melton, his attack vector is dead on using it. And then Melton's going to have to pick a fight with someone else because now he would have nothing else to do. Minnesota does have a cyber stalking law, but I don't think it applies here. So, I don't know about that one. Oh my God. You guys sometimes can be very mean. All right, chat. Well, I think that is it for us tonight. We are going to wrap this up here. We're going to land the plane. We're going to get ready for the model stream here. We're going to set up. I'm going to need a couple of minutes. But yeah, I think we can get these motorcycles going tonight. Have some practice building one and start the other one and get it done. Let's see. All right. All right, so we're going to schedule this. It's also still only Friday, 10 o'clock on a Friday. We'll set this for like 15 minutes. All right, chat. So we're going to leave that there. Are we doing local stream? No, we're going to just go over to the model channel and do some, we're going to do some work on the models. We're going to go over this place. Thank you, J-Rock. Mr. Beast is hiring. I apply to join. Oh, you guys would be unstoppable. You and Mr. Beast together. That would be a lot. Richard Gruber for $2 saying, take these precious little neighbor pennies. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay. I think we got everything here. I think we're all caught up, chat. So I'll be heavy breathing doing his models. Yeah, well, it requires attention. 40K fans are too broke for super chats. All right. So guys, yeah, with that, there you go. It's kind of an update to some of the political stuff, and now you see what real depositions look like. And based on what you guys have shown me, it sounds like you guys want some like depositions where shit actually goes down. We'll probably do the Owen Schroyer and Crowder one because it does sound pretty good. I watched part of it already. And there's some other ones out there, and we'll do that. We'll definitely do that, but not tonight. Not tonight. We're going to go paint some models. And yeah, we're going to do that now. So with that said, chat, just remember the next time, just because you did it does not mean you're guilty. Even if you're pleading the fifth all the time, even if all you do is plead the fifth, don't. You're not guilty. You might sound guilty. You might look guilty, but you're not necessarily guilty. So good night, chat, and I'll see you guys over on the model channel.
Weapons, blacksmithing, and models of planes, esoteric works, and even some trains. Much merriment had while drinking White Claws, tips on hunting, and even talking the law. Whatever you do, just don't talk to cops, even when they nab you on illegal stops. Just 'cause you did it doesn't mean you're guilty, but please talk to a local attorney. Was that the fat guy?